Today on Aging Untold, your doctor orders a long list of routine tests, and now you're wondering, what's next?
You are a participant, so don't let them throw everything at you. There needs to be a why we're doing it.
We'll walk you through which tests to prioritize now and which can wait. Plus, cooking for one can feel like a chore, and that's when healthy meals are often the first thing to slip.
Go ahead and eat healthy, but don't judge yourself if you're not cooking anymore.
We'll show you easy ways to keep real nutrition on your plate. And a gift from the 1940s sparked a lifelong love of trains. Years later, one request sealed the deal.
I said, you can have anything in that house you want, but I got to have a train room in the basement.
We'll take you inside the basement layout he's still building today. Experts with advice and solutions. You're watching Aging Untold with aging well coach Catherine Ambrose, gerontologist Sam Craddock, aging expert Amy O'Rourke, and board certified physician Dr. Ray Rogers. We're all getting older. It's about time we talked about it.
Welcome to Aging Untold. An annual checkup can turn into a long list. Labs, screenings, scans, and even with insurance, the costs can surprise you. So how do you sort through it all? A lot of it comes down to your age, your personal risk factors, and what makes the right sense for you right now. Dr. Ray, when patients feel overwhelmed, what's a simple way to prioritize what to do now versus what can wait?
So I think the biggest thing I would say is take the time before you go to think about what it is you're expecting so that you can be proactive. And think about it now. It used to be that the doctors just told us what to do, we would just do it. Well, it needs to be a partnership, and you need to have some say in it. So are you going because you're going for your well woman checkup, or there's guidelines for screening based off of ages, or are you going, or personal history, family history, things like that, or are you going because you have symptoms or something? So first of all, is it a screening, or is it a diagnostic test, or you need further tests for follow-up? So, but you are a participant. So don't let them throw everything at you. There needs to be a why we're doing it. You have a lot to say about what's going on, and don't just settle for accepting whatever somebody tells you.
Right.
Right.
I think finding out what's going on with you, like you said, but then looking for trends. So getting some baseline tests early enough when you're healthy enough that now we have a comparison later on down the road, and that we don't do that often enough, I don't think.
Well, I think they do in the guidelines. So I think that's why when people come for just basic certain labs, I think that's what they're doing for the guidelines.
Right, but there's some things that we're seeing that are showing up more when we're aging, and we haven't tested back here, and so we don't have those original baselines, and those are important to try and get on board.
And I think that's where the family history and the personal history really zones in, because that individualizes it, so you're not just doing a based off you're 40, so get X.
Right.
I'm so glad you're saying that, because I went to the doctor and she went through a battery of all the tests and procedures I needed to go through. Well, I sat there and I felt overwhelmed, and I thought, I do this for a living. Like, why am I sitting here feeling overwhelmed? I shouldn't feel this way. So if I am, other people are too. But then when I got home, I thought what she didn't say is your ears need to be checked routinely. Your eyes need to be checked annually. Your teeth need to be checked. Like all the things that she didn't say that I thought we don't think about.
What happens when you go to the doctor's office, we don't even think about that. We think about, well, let me look at your blood pressure and your temperature. And we don't think about the other things that are just as important. Oh, or the screenings. I know we'll say, well, have you had your mammogram? I don't say, have you had your eyes checked?
You're your best health coach. And so you've got to get what you need out of all the different professionals out there, and also kind of take charge of your project, which is you. Take good care of yourself.
And don't forget your skin. Like, think about your skin and the places that you can't see, and maybe you've got a bump or a lump or a coloring difference that means something. You don't get that at the doctor unless you go to a dermatologist specifically to get examined.
Well, and be an advocate. I had a really close friend who lost her mom, to colon cancer, and she was in her 30s, and she wanted to be screened, and the doctor kept insisting, "You're not old enough." And she's like, "No, I feel like there's something."
Right.
Well, what are your symptoms? I just want to be screened. And she kept pushing and kept pushing, and thank God she did. She actually was early stage colon cancer, and they caught it, and she's lived a long life. But had they let it go until the regular screening date, 50?
Well, and they're moving it up now.
And now they're moving it up. So she would have had, almost 20 more years before that normal screening, and that could have, just
would have never made
it. just
it.
comes down to you have to listen to the person.
Yeah.
Many people are in tune with their body. They may
Yeah.
not be able to identify what it is, but they know something is off.
Something's wrong,
is
and
off.
be an advocate. Our AIDS community really has learned that whatever gets said in a doctor's office is that's it. Yeah. And they don't question. And so I love seeing that some of the younger folks are coming in and they're like, no, we're not going to do this. So
I think you should also ask. I tell people, when you're going to go to the doctor's office, ask them what are the current guideline recommendations for my age.
Right.
So you can participate.
Right. And then add your family history and say, knowing this history, what else would you add?
Right.
Yeah. If I was your mother, what would you want me to have? I think
Thank
that's
you.
always a good question to ask. What would you do for your mom? What would you suggest for your dad? And then the opposite end of asking questions is, I don't know what the doctor said. And so take somebody with you and both of you ask questions.
So I know just like in general, usually in terms of women, gynecologists, most of the time it's your pap smears, age 21. Mammograms about age 40, but you have to also take into family history. Colonoscopies age 50, but they're moving that down. Bone density scans, usually at age 65, although I say whenever you lose estradiol, you need to be looking at the bones
Right.
and all that. And then in terms of the men, I think some of the prostate screening and all that, 40 or 50, but that's under debate too. So the guidelines depend on what agency they're looking at. And so everybody has a different agency. They look at different guidelines based off of ages. And then anytime you throw personal history or family history into it, it usually knocks that down even lower. And then you have the recommendations for vaccines and all those different things that are out there. So I think it really is, you really need to ask your physician, what are the current recommendations from the different guidelines for my age?
Still ahead, daily habits can make a big difference in how well cholesterol-lowering meds work.
If you take a statin but don't change your lifestyle, the statin doesn't really work very well.
We'll show you what can help your heart health the most. But first, no time, no appetite, or no desire to cook?
I'll make a meal in a crock pot and then it's just easy.
We'll give you some small shortcuts that still add up to a solid meal.
For some, cooking can get harder with age or after a life change, especially when you're cooking for one. Nearly 3 in 10 Americans 65 and older live alone, and for women 75 and up, it's closer to half. Amy, for someone who's lost motivation to cook, what's one realistic first step to getting healthier meals back into the routine?
I think I have a lot to say about this. My husband and I were out for dinner and we saw this group of guys and they were still there when we left and they were eating and talking, and I thought that's a real nice thing. They were all older, and I thought that's, if you can go out and eat with friends, that's a good solution. If you lost someone and you're like, I don't want to cook, because don't put guilt on yourself. Don't feel bad about yourself. Don't judge yourself. Get yourself invited over to somebody's house for dinner. Maybe host a dinner and have people bring food in. Like, kind of combine things so that, and then if you have neighbors like I do, and you say, let's all cook something and share for the week, that's a nice solution too. Yeah,
I like that.
So it's kind of being your own social director. And one solution that I have to mention is, you said having dinner with friends, and that is what independent living can be too for people, active adult or independent living, where you're hanging out with other people and eating well together. Because I'm very concerned about people being isolated and also lack of nutrition. And is grandma feeding herself well? That's something to be very curious about.
And it's hard to cook for one.
Yeah, it's not even just the cooking. It's how many people really want to eat alone? We have grown up that eating is very social activity. And so when you're saying 30% over 65, 50% over 75, that's a lot of people that are alone.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't your lifestyle, it's different.
Right.
So my mom cooked full meals. And I think it was just she was used to cooking for a large family.
Yeah.
And it translated in. I will cook for myself. I know I will because I like to cook, but I know a lot of people that don't.
Well, and
But
if
it is
you're
like
not
going
really,
out, it is going out. It's like the socialization. It gives us a reason to go out. We look forward to, hey, what sounds good? We're going to go eat and all that.
yeah, and if you're not that way, there's so many options out there. You can get food to then kind of prepare. You can get food already cooked. You can get it delivered. There's a lot of options. I have a lot of friends, believe it or not, that are introverted. And if I said, let's go out to eat, they're like, why?
Right.
Right. I don't want to go. So take advantage of all the food options that there are out there and healthier options in the grocery store that you can go ahead and eat healthy, but don't judge yourself if you're not cooking anymore. Don't judge yourself, or have someone come over and cook with you to kind of get back in a rhythm and the amounts maybe to cook for one.
I mean, eating out it's easier, but believe it or not, it really is the least healthy. Because you don't know what the
ingredients are. You don't know what they're
that's a
seasoning
really
with
good
and how
point.
they're doing it. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with leftovers. Plus, Roving Pantry, Meals on Wheels, there's organizations out there that can help provide food too. So get creative.
Yeah.
We'll be right back on Aging Untold.
Coming up, his basement railroad is built like a real town with little scenes that feel familiar.
It's more than trains. That layout to me it's a little chunk of real life.
We'll show you the details that bring it all to life. And up next, protecting your heart means lowering risk, not just chasing a number.
If you don't have disease, I don't like to push statins on people. I'd rather have them change their lifestyle.
We'll break down how doctors lean on lifestyle first and when meds may make sense. You can watch Aging Untold anytime online. Go to aginguntold.com or subscribe to the Aging Untold YouTube channel for more.
Welcome back. Your body needs cholesterol, but too much can raise your risk for heart disease and stroke. And a statin alone may not offset unhealthy habits. Here's Viv Williams with what you can do to help that medicine work better and why some people may still need medication even with healthy habits.
If you have high cholesterol, the American Heart Association says that statins are the most effective lipid-lowering medications for most people. But taking statins does not mean you can let your healthy lifestyle choices slide.
If someone comes to me and says, Doc, give me this statin so I can eat what I want or do what I want with my lifestyle, I say it doesn't work that way.
Dr. Stephen Kopetsky, a Mayo Clinic cardiologist, says statins reduce your risk of heart attack and stroke by blocking the production of cholesterol in your liver. That means less ends up in your bloodstream where it can accumulate in your arteries. He says statins are important medications, especially for people who know they have coronary artery disease, because the medication will reduce their risk of cardiac events. But he adds that statins are not a magic bullet.
We know if you take a statin but don't change your lifestyle, the statin doesn't really work very well.
Why not? Kopetsky says lifestyle choices, exercising regularly, not smoking, maintaining a healthy weight, eating a heart-healthy diet, and reducing stress improve the health of your arteries and overall health, making a statin's job easier.
If you don't have disease, I don't like to push statins on people. I'd rather have them change their lifestyle.
But is it possible to lower cholesterol on your own without the help of a statin?
You bet you can do it on your own.
Kopetsky says many of his patients have done it over time by gradually introducing healthy diet and exercise habits. But he also notes that some people, no matter how hard they try, can't keep cholesterol levels low because their bodies are genetically wired to produce excess cholesterol. He says this group should consider taking a statin in addition to incorporating a healthy living plan.
I was so glad to hear how well-rounded his answers were and that he was saying maybe you could get off statins and just talking about the whole picture.
Yeah.
You know, some people may need the statin for right then and there, but you still have to address why you're getting it. And the underlying things that drive it usually are inflammation. or damage to the blood vessel. That blood vessel gets damaged, then the cholesterol is going to go to try to repair it. So if you don't stop what's causing the damage, the inflammation, you're going to keep putting more and more and more cholesterol, and that's a plaque. And the other thing is insulin. If your insulin is very high, that's going to drive you to start making a lot more cholesterol. And cholesterol is not necessarily a bad guy, because hormones are made out of cholesterol. All of our cellular membranes are made out of cholesterol. So it has to be taken in context.
But if you would consider making the lifestyle changes, you could feel a lot better and get off of maybe medications that have other impact to your health.
Other
It's all the
side
same
effects.
foundation. I mean, look at it. Every time we look around, we're talking about inflammation, inflammation, inflammation. How do you stop it? Stop eating processed foods. Stop, manage your stress. Exercise, walk. It's the same foundation. It affects every different disease. This one's no different.
What are some other things that people could ask their physicians about, maybe like hormones or GLP-1s or other things?
Still comes back down to the basics.
Okay.
You can't out medicate nutrition.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think when they say exercise regularly, I wouldn't complicate it, like walking.
Walking's simple.
Walking simple. When they say reduce stress, I think about worry. Stop worrying.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned worries, because so many older adults are so burdened with worries. So anything you can do to kind of bring yourself some calm, and a good way to do it is exercise.
Next, this North Carolinian cattleman with a passion for locomotives says model trains are a niche hobby now, and fewer kids are getting into it.
It really is an old man's hobby.
We'll take a look at why he's still building on his layout after all these years.
About an hour north of Charlotte, North Carolina, there's a farm where you're just as likely to hear a train whistle as a cow moo. Reporter John Carter shows us how a lifelong passion for steam engines inspired one man to build a miniature town.
Harry Jenkins lives on a sprawling 199-acre cattle farm in Vail. Working a cattle farm takes up most of Mr. Jenkins' time. But when he isn't tending to his cattle, he's tending to the train station, the one inside his home.
I negotiated with Dorothy. I said, you can have anything in that house you want, but I got to have a train room in the basement. I didn't get it big enough.
Dorothy is Mr. Jenkins' wife, and this is the train room he and she negotiated back when they built this house in 2000. There may be other bigger model train setups, but Mr. Jenkins has what many consider the most intricate and detailed model train display in the Carolinas.
It's more than trains. That layout to me it's a little chunk of real life.
It's a hobby first introduced to him by his father back in the 1940s. In fact, Mr. Jenkins still has that first train he ever got.
I don't have any idea what Dad paid for these. I don't know how much he paid for that. That's a 1949 model. It runs as good as anything out there.
There are 9 full trains on the layout. 6 of them can run at one time. There's a highway where cars and trucks pass by. And then there are the other scenes: the stockyard, the depot, the fairgrounds, the businesses, the village where each business is named after his 9 grandchildren, plus a tribute to his father, who for years worked building transmission towers. There was a time in years past when you could find model trains in just about any store. These days, it's mostly specialty shops.
Really, it really is an old man's hobby, and I understand that. Children, there's too much for children now. They don't get excited when they hear a train whistle 4 or 5 miles away.
But when you look at this magnificent display, you can only feel it could still inspire a young person to carry on the tradition. After all, Mr. Jenkins says there's still a lot of work to be done.
It'll never be finished.
Great story. And if I was there, I would tell him that there's still little boys and probably little girls too that get so excited about trains. My grandson's one of them. And sadly, my daughter-in-law's dad left a huge train set, and they didn't think that they had room for it at the time, and so they let it go.
Oh, no.
Only to regret it just a couple of years later. So I would say to family, before you let some wonderful treasure go, really think about if you might change your mind later.
Right.
Because what a treasure that is.
I know. And think about the love of the wife to give up the entire basement for him to have his love. And I want to be his agent. I really want to be his agent. I'm going to take kids on tours of that basement. This is unbelievable.
Right. I like that he named everything after his grandchildren.
Yeah.
And I've had a few clients that have been train collectors, and I've gone into homes and seen things like that. It is so fun.
Yeah.
I think the nice thing also is, look at him. He's actually looking at his history.
Yeah.
He's creating the memories of his history.
Right.
1957, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those cars, I mean, that really
And
was
the different models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know those grandkids have had so many special moments and special time with Grandpa going down and looking at everything. And I loved the close-up of Hannah Oil Company, and how empowering is that for Hannah?
I know,
Right.
that was so
Right.
sweet. I've got a station named after me.
Well, maybe the grandchildren will keep some of that legacy going on.
Oh, I
know
hope
them
so.
will.
Yeah.
Well, he's still got his dad's trains.
I know.
Oh, that
Yeah,
was unbelievable.
amazing.
Yeah.
What a beautiful story. And, you know, we have to think about the future like that and passing on legacy, because we're all getting older and it's about time we talk about it. Until next time on Aging Untold.
On the next Aging Untold, it's a delicate topic to discuss, but it can shape daily life in a big way.
Sometimes you'll see people with diapers, people having to change their clothes all the time. You know, those are signs that they have an issue and all that.
We're taking on bladder health with practical advice and when to reach out for help.